to Tuesday. Busy day on the way today. The House voting on several major bills that could have an impact on D.C. home rule. President Trump heading overseas. Charlie Kirk's suspected killer due in court today. And Cardi B showing off the cover of her new album. We'll get into all of it over the next 2 hours, but we want to start like we always do with the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Tucker Barnes talking a little weather, and it's a little gloomy out there. It's a little gloomy out there today, buddy.
I need a song when I come in. Can you make that happen next time?
I'm going to spend your entire weather forecast trying to come up with what song I think it should be.
We need intro music around here, don't we?
You're asking a little much here, buddy.
Okay, yeah, I know. We're on a budget. All right, let's do the forecast. Cool day, a cloudy day, and a breezy day, and a somewhat rainy afternoon expected across the area. 70 degrees at DCA. Finally got it out of the 60s. We were stuck at 65 degrees for several hours this morning. But that's pretty much going to be it for your afternoon high temperatures. Maybe we can do 72, but much cooler than average is what I'm trying to share with you. A cloudy day and rain showers starting to work their way in across the area here. And the rain showers it won't be with us every minute, Chris, but it's going to be kind of on and off this afternoon. A little bit of a heavier band is working its way close to the bay. Can you see it there? Kind of working through Dover.
I do.
And that will pinwheel up and right through our region here shortly. So over the next couple hours, steady rain, and then it'll just kind of become a intermittent on and off again rain shower chance and activity through the late night hours. In fact, what's happening here is we have a very, very slow moving area of low pressure. You can kind of see the curl in the atmosphere off the Delmarva coast. See it there? Just say yes.
I do, yeah.
Okay, it's kind of with high pressure to the north, unable to do a whole lot of moving. So it'll be a slow mover. And what I'm trying to say nicely, and just as fast as I can, is we're going to do the same forecast tomorrow. So more clouds tomorrow, more cool temps, and occasional showers for our Wednesday as well. And then we'll start a gradual clearing by Thursday, and we should be in for a nice end of the week. That's this afternoon, 2:30. You get the idea. It's not raining every minute, but there's 10 o'clock tonight. We've got some more showers on top of us. Tomorrow morning for our commute, we'll have some showers around. That's noon tomorrow. None of this is terribly heavy, but it will probably give us a half inch, a little more than that to the south.
Bless you. There's the 7-day.
The perils of live TV. And more shower activity tomorrow. Nothing to sneeze at before the sun comes back on Thursday. Nice weekend. Friday, Saturday look great. A little warm there for you Friday.
Little warm for Friday.
Sunday, I, at this hour, would take the few showers out of the forecast, and that is important. Why?
Because
the Commanders play the Raiders.
Yeah, that's right.
Raiders Sunday afternoon. So hopefully we'll keep it dry for the game.
And hopefully Jaden Daniels is back from that knee
injury. You gonna give me an update?
Yeah, we'll do our best. But
okay.
I've been racking my brain trying to come up with a song for you. I'm dressed in all black, so my mind immediately went to Johnny Cash. So I was thinking something like Folsom Prison Blues or Ring of Fire or The Man Comes Around from the later stuff.
I get that.
You know, I'll keep working on it.
Okay.
You know.
Something that
you'll be back tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have something for you.
Led Zeppelin, Dazed and Confused.
That's a good one.
I'm out.
That's a little more like you. All right. If you can't get enough Tucker, or you just want to maybe submit some ideas for what his walk-up music should be, the Fox Local app, the place to be for Fox 5's weather on the go. Download it now if you don't have it. I hope you do, because I hope that's where you're watching us right now. All right, time now, 12:04. Let's check some of the headlines Fox 5 is following right now. And we're starting in Fort Washington, Maryland. That's where police are searching for a woman accused of first and second-degree murder in the death of her grandmother and first and second-degree attempted murder in the stabbing of her father. The suspect is 28-year-old Briante Thomas. Prince George's County Police say the stabbing happened at her grandmother's home on Bond Hill Drive on Sunday. Police say Briante Thomas is driving a 2012 white Volkswagen Passat. Anyone who sees her should call 911 immediately and not approach her. Meanwhile, a D.C. police officer on leave after being arrested and charged with DWI, assault on a law enforcement officer, sexual battery, driving with a suspended license, and obstruction of justice. The officer, whose name is Trayvon King, has been with the MPD since 2020. Neighbors in Alexandria tell Fox 5 last night they heard a loud crash when they went outside to investigate. They found King had crashed into one of their cars parked on the street before continuing forward and hitting a telephone pole. When neighbors tried to approach King to see if he was hurt, they say King attempted to get away. Alexandria police arrived to Russell Road around 8:30 last night. King was taken to the hospital before heading to the police station. The MPD says an internal investigation is ongoing. And finally, some sad news from Hollywood this morning. You may have seen this by now. Actor, director, and activist Robert Redford has died. The Oscar-winning actor, who was once Hollywood's golden boy, passed away at his home in the mountains of Utah, surrounded by loved ones. Redford rose to stardom in the 1960s and one of the biggest stars of the 1970s. His movie catalog is epic. Hits like The Candidate, All the President's Men, The Way We Were, The Natural, and 3 Days of the Condor. He also won an Oscar for Best Director for Ordinary People in the 1980s. That same film also won Best Picture the same year. His co-stars were some of the biggest names in Hollywood, including Jane Fonda, Meryl Streep, Barbra Streisand, Tom Cruise. But perhaps his most iconic partnership was with Paul Newman. The two starred in 1969's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which Redford's Sundance Institute and Film Festival was named for. They also reunited for the 1973 crime caper, The Sting. Younger audiences may also know him from a starring role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He played a senior SHIELD/Hydra official in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Redford was also a well-known activist. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom back in 2016. He was also recognized at the Kennedy Center Honors in 2005. Robert Redford was 89 years old. And if you've never seen The Sting, I highly recommend it. One of my favorite movies of all time, but I will warn you, you need an attention span to watch it because there is a lot going on. All right, we're coming up now at 12:07, and we want to get to some of the big political headlines of the day because it is an extremely busy day. And for that, we want to turn to national security expert, political strategist, and radio host, Arif Halaby. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. I'm still getting used to this time shift. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning. How are you? Listen, The Sting, I was going to tell you, The Sting is my favorite. And if you watch it, you'll realize that they just don't make movies the same. Not anymore.
They really don't. And Robert Shaw, who plays the villain in that, you may also know him from Jaws. It is a masterclass in acting, directing, writing, everything.
Yes, and he was a very good man. I real quick, I know we're taking time, but I was a Los Angeles police officer. They were filming a show in California, and he happened to be at one of the police stations as they were doing it, and was very kind and generous as we spoke for a little bit many years ago, about probably close to 30 years ago. So, wow. Good guy.
Tributes pouring in, as you can imagine. All right, let's get into one of the big stories of the day, and that is an update on the murder of Charlie Kirk. The suspect in his assassination due in court today, Tyler Robinson, accused of gunning down Kirk at Utah Valley University last week. Investigators say DNA found on a towel wrapped around the alleged murder weapon and on a screwdriver found at the crime scene both match Robinson. Meanwhile, faculty at the campus returned yesterday, and students will do so tomorrow. So what should we expect from his court appearance today?
Yeah, I happen to know a lot of folks that were there at the event, and they, to this day, are still concerned for their safety because it was ideas, really. And so Tyler was radicalized probably at the university level. His family, I know folks that actually know his family quite well, and they say he's wonderful, was raised in a wonderful family, good parents. So it's very confusing as where this occurred, probably when he went off to college. I think you're going to expect a couple of things. You're going to expect him to plead not guilty, a dream team of sorts of lawyers, because the bottom line is whether it's on the state or the federal level, I think the death penalty is on the table, and rightfully so.
Do you think we'll get any more insight into his possible political motivation? Social media has obviously been awash in different groups claiming different ideologies. Do you think some of that could possibly come out today?
Yeah, I think it will, not so much today from him, but I think from the evidence, and you'll see this in a couple of ways. All of his writings on the ammunition, on the other items that he left behind, he was very clear. So if somebody tells you something, that they're going to do something, or the reason that they are doing something, then you have to believe them. And he expected to have some of these items caught, or to be caught himself, or maybe even killed himself. because he had left a wide range of items behind that left it very clear it was for Charlie Kirk's stand on the trans community and having men that claim to be women going into women's bathrooms and playing in women's sports. Charlie was very clear on his stance.
All right, well, we'll keep following that case. His first court appearance set for later today. We'll have updates coming up either here if it happens or on the DMV zone, Fox 5, 4, 5, and 6. Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill now. The House floor opening moments ago, where we're expecting a vote on 4 bills that would impact D.C. laws, D.C. home rule specifically. The bills would allow 14-year-olds to be charged as adults. They would cap youthful offender leniency eligibility at age 18 rather than the age of 24. They would allow more police vehicular pursuits. They would abolish D.C.'s Judicial Nomination Commission to give the president sole power to appoint D.C. judges. Now, this all comes as President Trump is threatening to once again put the D.C. Police Department under his control after the mayor said they would no longer cooperate with ICE. So what should we expect with these bills today? Should these pass, and should the federal government control D.C.?
Yeah, I think if you take a look, Chris, at the idea of let's just check the results. How are they doing? How is it for the 60,000 people that live between Brentwood and Deanwood? Are you happy? Can you go out at night? Not even midnight or 2 in the morning. Can you go out after dark? Check on your car? Do you have to leave your car windows open so they're not broken into? Do you feel safe? If you do, then people in charge are doing a great job. If not, something needs to change. Why are their lives worth less because they live in that area? When I was a police officer, I can tell you this. I thought the bad guys that lived in that area were just bad guys, and that's the way they chose to live. Until you get there and you realize, as a 21-year-old kid, I thought, wait a second, it's 3, 4, 5% of the population. What about the grandmothers and the aunts? Listen, President Trump is going to do something about this. They can either fix it or he will. I don't agree with everything anybody always does, but let's just check the results. How's the current leadership doing? Bottom line.
We will hear much more about this, obviously. Tom Fitzgerald covering it for us coming up this afternoon. And then I believe the mayor and the attorney general due back on the Hill a little later, either later this week or early next week, to talk more about the MPD crime stats. So we'll stay on top of this one. I want to kind of branch off of this a little bit. You may have seen a little earlier today, former DNC chair Donna Brazile called on D.C. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton to retire. She did so in an op-ed in the Washington Post. This just came out a few hours ago. Congresswoman Norton is 88 years old. She is running for re-election. Donna Brazile says she has served the nation's capital well, but it needs a new champion, especially during this time specifically. Do you have any reaction to this?
Well, I think she certainly has served quite a long time. And I believe you're going to see 2 things happen. One is in the next 6 to 9 months, you're going to start seeing big results in Washington, D.C. And if the Democrat Party doesn't solidify that position, the results are going to allow possibly for the first time in a long time, a Republican to be elected because the people are just tired of the same old get along to get along. And that's what the Democrat Party is doing. They need somebody a bit more solid that they can get as a legacy play before the results of the D.C. crime stoppage really takes hold and residents realize it can be different.
Well, she has served for decades, and it would be a huge loss on the Hill, obviously, for the nation's capital. But at the same time, Donna Brazile did work for Congresswoman Norton, so we'll see what happens there. Let's stay on the Hill and talk about the FBI hearing underway right now. FBI Director Kash Patel testifying on Capitol Hill at an oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Any major headlines that have come out so far?
Not really. I think Kash Patel was a little bit concerned because he certainly jumped the gun when he said there was somebody in custody and then there somebody wasn't in custody. The white male with the blue shirt that was in custody originally at Charlie Kirk's assassination seems to be somebody who has some mental issues. He's been all over the news over the last 20 years in various capacities. Always seems to be causing problems. So initially they thought he was a suspect and then somebody else. Kash Patel came out. I think he's still trying to get his feet under him. I'm not sure how much longer that grace will be given to him. However, I think he's doing an amazing job. He's been on both sides. He used to defend criminals. He used to prosecute criminals. He's been on raids in foreign countries to go after terrorists when we treated them as criminals instead of terrorists. So he was involved in all levels. I trust his judgment. I trust his experience. I think his decision there was slightly jumped the gun, if you will. And here's the problem. Congress on both sides, if you listen, whenever these hearings happen, they are never listening. All they want to do is talk to get the headlines. And when they pan out in Congress, you'll see it's empty. People ask their questions, get their headlines, take a few shots, and then walk away. They never want to hear the rest of the hearing and what's going on. So this is another show. We'll see if it lasts.
You touched on this a little bit when you mentioned that grace period. Do you think he still enjoys the full support of the president and his top advisors?
Oh, 100%. I happen to know somebody that knows Mr. Dan Bongino quite well, and both of them have an enormous support between Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem and President Trump. I don't see any problems whatsoever. It will take a lot more than that to lose President Trump's trust. In case people aren't sure, President Trump is never shy of saying something publicly if he doesn't like you. He's pretty confident that he's okay doing that.
Yeah, his famous catchphrase is "You're fired." So,
yes.
If that was the case, we would probably know sooner than later. All right, let's talk about President Trump now, because he and the First Lady are currently on their way to the United Kingdom as we speak. King Charles III will host ceremonies at Windsor Castle, including a carriage procession and honor guard review. The visit seeks to strengthen ties between the two nations amid trade and global security tensions. So what should we expect, and how would you describe the current relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom?
Well, Britain was one of the very first tariff trade deals that the United States had under President Trump, and that's a very important distinction, partly because we think Britain has nothing to do with the European Union. In fact, I've been in Europe, a few different countries over the last few years, and the South has nothing to do with the North. If you are Greece or Portugal or Italy, you believe that you are, if you will, in effect, the slave countries, the worker countries for the North, for the Belgiums, the France, and the Germanys. They have a lot of resentment. European Union has very little actual control. It's just this oligarchy power play. And President Trump knows that. So his goal is to keep a wedge between Britain and the rest of Europe when it comes to the deep relationships. And if you saw London, did you see the support for Charlie Kirk from London over the last couple of days? It was incredible. It was, I don't know, 500,000 people, 1 million people. And if you notice, so far I haven't seen anybody burning cities or turning over police cars or spray painting or firebombing anything. So maybe there's a difference between the two groups.
All right, well, let's stay with President Trump now, because we also learned today that he announced on social media platform Truth Social that he plans to file a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. The president accused the outlet of defamation and libel, along with making false statements about his family and businesses. So this announcement comes after the president threatened to sue the outlet after it published articles regarding a note that was given to Jeffrey Epstein and allegedly signed by the president. So I kind of wanted to talk to you about the president kind of wielding the power of the judiciary against the press. Is this, do you see this lawsuit having legs moving forward, and or do you think it's a little bit of a bullying tactic?
I think both. I think the president has used this bully pulpit against CBS. He's used it against other outlets. CNN was sued by the Covington student. So I think there's a few times when the media needs to be held to account. Remember, who holds them to account? The American people don't. They don't have any clue of what the truth is. What the media tells us, what we tell them, they believe. And so when you get something so skewed so far to the left or the right politically, there's nobody else to hold them into account. Look, you and I have jobs. We have things to do. We have people we have to impress. President Trump doesn't. And so I think his ability to push and to use the judiciary, in which has been used against him for quite a long time, it's turnabout is fair play. And let's see where it goes. I believe they'll settle. I think he will get hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think the Times will apologize.
All right. Political strategist, radio host, national security expert, Arif Halaby. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on the live.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Thank you. Coming up next, we're going to talk more about what's happening in the Middle East. Harley Lipman, foreign policy expert, will join us live. We'll be right back. A little after 12:20 on this Tuesday morning. Thanks for staying with us on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We want to get to the latest from the Middle East now. Foreign policy expert Harley Lipman joining us live. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Harley, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. My normal beat here at Fox 5 is much more in like the pop culture and celebrity realm. So this is not an area that I am an expert in, and I am going to defer to you on this. But because of that, I did want to kind of start with something I noticed on Sunday night. I was watching the Emmys, and I noticed that a lot more celebrities were using their platform and were much more outspoken about what's happening in the Middle East. Has something changed? I felt like before celebrities were a little hesitant to kind of pick a side or make a statement in fear of getting canceled or called out. But it was pretty front and center on Sunday night.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. The conflict in the Middle East has put the Palestinian cause front and center before anything else in the world. And there are far more greater tragedies, as terrible as it is for the Palestinians in Gaza. As I was saying, there are far worse situations around the world involving far more people that are suffering, but don't get barely any attention, if any attention at all. More people are dying in Sudan by far than Gaza, but hardly anybody knows about it. So to answer your question directly, the extreme media focus on Gaza, where it dominates the news all over the world, has caused a huge emotional reaction in people. They see innocent people being killed, people that are starving. So they've turned against Israel in their support of the Palestinian cause without recognizing that it's Hamas that Israel is at war with, which would create peace for Israel and a better Gaza for the Palestinians.
All right, well, speaking of Israel, Israel says its expanded military operation towards Gaza City has begun. Military vehicles, tanks, and helicopters seen at the border between Israel and Gaza on Tuesday. Overnight, military strikes in Gaza City killed at least 12 Palestinians, including 2 children. Residents there reported heavy strikes across Gaza City. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, reportedly said Gaza is burning in remarks he made before the new offensive began. So Harley, your reaction to this, and what does this mean for any possible ceasefire efforts?
Well, it's horrible. How do you look at that and have anything other than disgust and horror at what war brings? And this is where we have to use our judgment to make good decisions and not be caught up in the moment of horror of war. All wars are horrible. All wars involve innocent people being killed tragically, and it's just terrible. But you also have to look more importantly at what is the outcome, what will it bring. I like to say if Fox was around during Gettysburg, I'm not sure the North would have continued fighting the South in the Civil War. But by not having the media at Gettysburg, we've ended slavery there. That was the decisive battle. So look at the end outcome. World War II, millions of Germans and Japanese innocent civilians were killed, but it defeated fascism and saved American lives. That's what we have to focus on. I don't think Israel has anything to gain by deliberately killing innocent Palestinians. It goes against everything that would be in their interest to do so.
All right, well, let's talk about Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He arrived in Qatar overnight, as anger abroad grows over Israel's surprise strikes on Hamas leaders in Qatar. Yesterday, Rubio met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. He made it clear the Trump administration's priorities are the freeing of Israeli hostages and the destruction of Hamas. So what do you expect, or what do you hope will come out of this international trip?
Well, I hope that the Gulf nations are not going to be as angry with Israel as they are, because right now they're enraged. They really are. I don't think Israel really understands the depth of the anger among the Gulf nations, because they feel that Qatar was playing a mediator role. It's an important ally of the United States, non-NATO member, critical partner, and it's the first time Israel actually attacked a Gulf nation. Now, from Israel's point of view, they attacked Hamas leaders who were stalling the talks, who were not negotiating in good faith, while Israeli citizens, innocent people, were being tortured in tunnels in Gaza. And Israel made a strategic decision that enough is enough, and that these people living in luxury villas in Doha do not want to have a ceasefire and peace with Israel. They want this prolonged as long as possible. So Israel wanted to try to break that dynamic. And their view is that no matter where terrorists hide, if you kill innocent Israelis, women and children, then there's no place that will keep you safe. And they refer to America going after Osama bin Laden in Pakistan as somewhat of an analogy. So that's the dynamic. But from the Persian Gulf nations' point of view, it's an infringement of territorial sovereignty, which it is. So it's created a whole new dynamic in the Middle East now.
All right, well, let's wrap up with the latest UN inquiry. A new report from independent experts commissioned by the United Nations has concluded that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. They say 4 out of 5 conditions of genocide have been met: killing, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of the Palestinians in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent births. So can you talk to me a little bit about your reaction to that inquiry and what comes next?
It's completely ridiculous. Everything hinges on intent. Israel is not intending to destroy the Palestinians. If they had that intent, they could have done it overnight. They have the military capacity to do that. This war has been going on for 2 years, and less than 1% of the Palestinian civilians have been killed in this war. Tragic, and there shouldn't be any Palestinians killed, but that's just not genocide. And Israel's war is not against the Palestinians, it is against Hamas. The proof of that is that If Hamas disarms or surrenders and gives up the hostages, Israel stops killing. So they're not against Palestinians. Their mission is very clear. They're to take Hamas from power in Gaza because Hamas wants to kill every single Jew in Israel and said they will stop at nothing to do that. So Israel just wants peace with their neighbor, period.
All right. Foreign policy expert Harley Lipman, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. It's 12:30 now. You're watching the Fox 5 Live Zone. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Fox 5 Live Zone on this Tuesday afternoon. We mentioned a little earlier FBI Director Kash Patel testifying on Capitol Hill at an oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. We want to let you listen in now.
And not losing them to the federal government, then our reliance on those local law enforcement agencies is a perilous strategy to take and could undermine local law enforcement's ability to address crime at the local level, whether it's white-collar crime, organized retail theft, violent crime, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in my final minute, I will also suggest this. Director Patel has referenced earlier in the hearing that one of the most significant value addeds of partnering with local law enforcement is that they are the best intelligent source. Is that correct?
For on the ground.
Yet, when local law enforcement is put in a perilous position of being in a role with this mass deportation agenda, which is consistently overreached, has been found to violate the law and the Constitution, and has undermined public confidence in law enforcement, not just by immigrants, by the way, but especially immigrants. When immigrants are victims of crime and are afraid to come forward because they don't know what law enforcement is going to do with their information or not, when immigrants, legal or undocumented, are witnesses to crime and are afraid to come forward with that information because they don't know what's going to happen with their information or not, that undermines the credibility of law enforcement with the community and undermines the intelligence, Director Patel, that you say are the best source of intelligence when it comes to law enforcement. So it's shaky, it's worrisome, and in my opinion, overall, you are failing to live up to the role and responsibility that you have been confirmed to, and I associate with myself with everything Senator Booker said earlier. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before we go to Senator Blackburn, without objection, I want to introduce into the record a recently declassified document thanks to Director Patel. The document is a Director Ray FBI analysis of Nellie Orr's false statements to the Congress. Orr never suffered consequences for advancing the phony Trump-Russia narrative and attempting to cover up her involvement in the hoax with false statements. Yet time and again, the American justice system has been weaponized against President Trump and his associates, such as Peter Navarro, with reckless abandon. The DOJ's inaction on Nellie Orr's criminal referral, despite the obvious incriminating evidence provided in the FBI's own analysis, undermines public trust in the rule of law thanks to Director Ray's utter failure. Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Director Patel, thank you ever so much for being with us today. And I want to thank you for your commitment to fight violent crime in Memphis. And when you first came to meet with me before your hearing here, I gave you the stats on Memphis, Tennessee, and their crime rates. And then you committed then and again at your confirmation to help us. You have been true to your word, and we are very, very grateful. Operation Viper has been such a success. The 500 arrests are important. These are gang members and gang leaders out of Memphis, Tennessee. There are over 100 gangs in Memphis. So the impact of these arrests, the impact of 100 indictments of these gang members. And now we have a U.S. Attorney's Office that will actually prosecute violent crimes and actually take up and prosecute federal gun crimes. This is helping to make Memphis safe again. And yesterday at the White House, to have the president announce the second phase of this with bringing in the Guard, and we've got ATF and DEA and the U.S. Marshals and Homeland Security, and the work that you and General Bondi and the President have done is so appreciated by the people of Memphis, Shelby County, West Tennessee, and I am ever so grateful for the work you've done. You know, one of the things as we talk about Memphis and what a vibrant and wonderful historic city it is, it's important to realize Memphis is one of the logistics hubs in our country. You have I-40, which goes East Coast to West Coast. You have the Port of Memphis. You have FedEx. You have all 5 Class A railroads that are there, as well as so many companies that are important to Memphis. And I have found it so interesting that some of my colleagues want to complain about agents being taken out of the DC office and actually put to work in the field because they've been needed in the field. And you can look at the stats from Operation Viper and see the difference that they have made. And we so appreciate that. I do want to drill down just a little bit on the issue of cargo theft, which ties into the logistics hub in Memphis. We've got a lot of companies that go through there. IMC is a big logistics company. People in Memphis know what it takes to keep America moving. But what a lot of people may not realize is that many of these criminal gangs have been focused on cargo theft. This is how they pay for their activities. So in addition to the carjackings and the home robberies and the smash and grabs and some of the human and sex trafficking, they've gotten into cargo theft. And cargo theft in Memphis has increased over 5,000%. 5,000%. That's what you saw with a Biden administration who wouldn't drill down on this. So having these agents.
All right, you've been listening to FBI Director Kash Patel testifying on Capitol Hill at an oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. We are streaming this entire thing on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. You can tune into it there if you want to watch it in full, or you can go check it out when you're finished watching the Fox 5 Live Zone. In the meantime, we want to move on and we want to talk about healthcare now. It can be complicated and it can be expensive, but there are some ways to cut costs. This morning, excuse me, I keep doing this afternoon, I apologize. Rachel Strauss, the founder and CEO of PBM Princess. She's a healthcare strategist and nationally recognized expert on drug pricing and patient access, joins us live. Thanks so much for being here with us. I just want to double check and make sure that your mic's on. We're having a little trouble hearing you right now. Rachel, you got me?
I got you. Do you have me now?
I got you now. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right. Well, let's start off with talking about why the Affordable Care Act premiums are expected to rise so sharply next year in 2026 compared to previous years.
I mean, there's so many factors that are going into that. And they're saying that it's going to be as much as 20 to 30%, which is going to have a huge impact on American families. In fact, more than 50% of Americans are receiving some form of coverage from the ACA. And what is driving these costs has to do with so many things, from hospitals charging more for services, pharmaceuticals, enter GLP-1s, which have had a huge impact on our healthcare system in this last year. They're costing upwards of $1,500 per patient per month.
So how will these premium increases affect families who rely on that marketplace coverage?
So what we're going to see is, especially middle-class Americans who do not have access to these subsidies. The subsidies were provided by the government to really try to help the American families afford access into the ACA. And if these subsidies go away or decrease, we are at a tremendous risk for more Americans not being able to afford premium. We're talking about choices Americans will have to make, whether it's healthcare for their family or groceries on the table.
So who is most at risk of being priced out of coverage if these subsidies expire?
Sure. Again, it's going to be middle-class Americans or people making below whatever that threshold is. The subsidies made, think of your average 28-year-old, 29-year-old making $35,000, $40,000 a year, this being their first, foray into the workforce. They may not have health care offered depending on how many employees work at their company. So the subsidies made it very easy for individuals and or families below certain income levels to get access to health insurance. And if these subsidies go away, again, we're going to see some of those people not take that health insurance. And what this can cause is some of the healthier Americans, again, that offset that risk for the premiums for everybody to afford it. If we have only sick people that are buying health insurance, we're going to have a much bigger problem in 2027.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question, which is if people aren't getting health insurance and then they are flooding emergency rooms for every single thing that pops up, what impact does that have on everyone else?
I mean, you're going to see it coming from the taxpayers, right? I mean, if the hospitals don't have an entity to bill, and our insurance system isn't set up to pay for people who need insurance as they need it, it's going to put more truly more onto the resources of our government. And they're going to have to pay these claims. And the hospitals, really, where we get to the root of the problem, are going to have to be more transparent in what they're charging.
And not to mention those long lines for people in emergency situations. You mentioned some of those weight loss drugs, the GLP-1s, Ozempic, Wegovy. What role do those expensive new drugs that are also extremely popular and in high demand play in driving these healthcare costs?
Well, more than 40 million Americans, it is estimated, have some form of a condition that is now FDA approved to be treated by a GLP-1. And that goes beyond just type 2 diabetes and weight loss. We're seeing comorbidities such as cardiovascular. There are studies right now, even to dementia, that this may have some form of a good prognosis for people on GLP-1s. And with this cost and the millions of Americans having some form of a condition that could qualify them for one, it is only going to continue to put resources at risk that just aren't there to pay for these.
So we're obviously coming to you live from the nation's capital. And if any policymakers, insurers, or employers are watching, what steps can be taken to help keep healthcare more affordable?
This is one of my favorite questions because it starts with patients and it starts with employers. We are living in an era where the big box names of insurance carriers that are out there, for example, Blue Cross or United, and some of the big ones that are, again, household names, there are so many other vendors that are out there that are better and less expensive. And we need employers to understand that they don't have to just accept the renewals. We're coming up on what is called open enrollment season. Business owners across our country are getting what are called their health insurance renewals for their employees. And it starts with the employers understanding what the package is that they're offering to their employees. It doesn't have to be a name on the card anymore, so long as the structure is there to take care of sick people.
And finally, some tips for the average American looking to save money when it comes to healthcare.
Absolutely. Do your research. If a medication is expensive out of pocket, there are many ways to get those medications, whether looking through apps like GoodRx, even international, you can get medications personally imported. Countries like Israel or Canada have much better prices on the exact same medications that we get here in the United States. In fact, that is what President Trump was talking about when he said that medications should be the same price in our country as they are in others. They're the same manufacturers, so until something is done about that here on US soil, there are opportunities for Americans to at least take advantage of that in the meantime.
Rachel, before I let you go, can you tell us a little bit more about PBM Princess and how people can get in touch with you or follow you if they want more information on this topic?
Absolutely. My website, rachelmstrauss.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. PBM Princess was an initiative of mine after 20 plus years working on the payer side of healthcare. It's so complicated, and Americans who utilize this system every single day, whether it's taking your child in for a well visit or picking up a prescription, deserve to know how these things are being paid for and what they can do to help control the cost. And that's what I'm here for.
All right, Rachel Strauss, thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're coming up on just about 12:50 here on this Tuesday afternoon. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Brittany Alexandra and today's talkers and why we ended up talking about body counts. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Fox 5 Live Zone here with Brittany Alexandra. Two
Hey,
days
Chris,
in a row.
I
That's
love
how
it.
lucky we are here today.
I love it. I just love being part of Fox 5. You know, and it's crazy. When I first started here, you were one of the first people I worked with. So happy to still be doing things with you, Chris.
Because I've been here forever.
Yeah, we're not going to age you. We're not going to age you.
That's okay.
Or myself.
I appreciate it very much.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
The weird day between Monday and Hump Day, right?
Correct.
Yesterday
yes,
online, we were ranking which day is the oddest day and should be taken out. I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah. Mondays are rough, don't get me wrong, because I get the Sunday scaries.
Right.
But then Tuesdays, as a longtime producer, at least on Monday, you have everything that happened over the weekend.
Right.
Tuesday is a struggle.
The struggle bus has hit.
I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. All right. A little earlier, Tucker was talking to me about his walk-up song, what it should be.
Oh, I love this.
And I was racking my brain his entire weather forecast trying to come up with a song. And you know what? I did a terrible job. But it leads us right into our first talker today because we are talking about favorite songs. Because a new study finds that as we age, we actually have fewer favorite songs. The analysis took 15 years of listening data involving more than 1 million different songs and found musical taste becomes more refined with age. Researchers say music is a strong marker of identity, and it makes sense that as people grow and change, so does their taste in music. So Brittany, I mean, you are on the cutting edge of music.
Yes, and I'm big into music. And you know what's funny? This morning I got ready to lo-fi music. That's how I know I'm getting older. Music with no words, right? Literally. So I think this study is right on point. What about you, Chris?
I am the typical like guy who is locked into like that 90s alt rock, you know, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Green Day, all of those songs that I grew up with.
Yep.
But to be honest with you, besides Nirvana, but you know, Foo Fighters have kind of continued on
Love
that
them.
legacy with
Yeah.
Dave Grohl, Virginia's own. You know, all of those bands are still making new music, which is impressive when you think about it. I'm just going to give you a random stat. The Beatles only made music for like 10 years. 10 years, and people still put them on this pedestal as like one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
Green Day has been making music for 30 plus years at this point. They're in their 50s, and I've been listening to them since I was in second grade.
So you're like, why listen to somebody else if my favorite band and artists are still making the best music?
I've been to concerts where there are people my age who are there listening to like, there to hear the songs from like Dookie, and then they have their kids there who are like teenagers, and then they're there to hear like the songs
a different
from,
generation
you know,
of
American Idiot and things like that.
Yes.
I'm going off on a Green Day tangent here,
but
and I
that's
shouldn't
cool.
be, but I am guilty of really having a small thing of favorite
I am
songs.
too.
But that's more on my phone and on Spotify.
Okay.
My vinyl collection.
Ooh, okay.
I haven't gotten anything probably past. I personally,
love that
my
you
wife
have
has a
vinyl.
few albums that are current, quote unquote. She's got like a, I can't even remember. But almost everything we have is from probably pre-1985.
And do you actually take out the vinyl still? Do you have a recorder at home and you play it?
We have a record player at home. We'd like to make a little evening tradition of it, type of a thing. So we really kind of look for some classics.
Yeah.
You know, we're both rock and roll fans.
For
so
sure.
Like more
well,
that
for me
sort of
on the R&B side, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like there's so many artists that are still making great music that I'm very picky when it comes to new artists out there. But in the world of genres that I listen to, I mean, there's some good ones out there for sure, but I feel like I'm always going back to the throwbacks when I'm in the car listening and so forth. So I agree with this for sure. But I'm getting older, Chris. Lo-fi music, that's crazy, right?
I'll embarrass myself just here for a quick second. I think probably my most recent favorite songs are like Levitating by Dua Lipa.
Yeah, of course,
and
yes.
Sorry by Justin Bieber. Those
are
in heavy
good.
rotation.
His new album is good though. I like Yukon too.
Okay,
that's a
Swag
good
too,
one.
Swag
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
So, look, I'm with
You're
it.
a little
I'm
hip.
All
Swag
right.
2 is a good one.
If
Yes.
Savannah Mae's not here, she'd go off on me right now. All right, let's talk about dating a little bit now, shall we? And we're talking about dating.
Are we finding me a man?
We're working on it. Trust me. The next, she's coming up on Do You Like It or Not here in a couple weeks, and I want some potential suitors in the line Zoom room. We'll get into that in a second. But we're talking about dating lies, unfortunately, because when it comes to dating, the question is, how often do you lie? A revealing new survey breaks down fabrications people tell when getting to know a potential partner. 35% of people say they lie on first dates. 44% say they aren't entirely honest in their relationships. Nearly 20% hide their sexual history. Nearly 20% also pretend to like their in-laws. 19% say they never lie. Where do you think you fall?
Where do I
on
lie
this
in
list?
this?
Yes, exactly. Where do you lie?
Okay, well, I think that, you know, it's easy for everybody to have trust issues because of their past relationships. I like to be honest for sure. So I would say very low on this totem pole when it comes to that. But I'm not going to let all my eggs show on the first date or the second date, right? So for that reason, yeah, maybe it's not called a lie. Maybe I just won't tell you the whole truth. You know what I mean?
I was just going to say, maybe a lie of omission in this case, which is
Yeah.
if you're talking about my past relationships, maybe I wasn't always the most
And maybe I don't want to get
upstanding
into
man,
the
but I
drama.
may have grown and changed,
For
and I
sure.
don't necessarily want to focus on that, so I might leave out the circumstances of the breakup.
For sure.
But that doesn't mean you won't find out eventually as we get to know each other
I
more.
agree,
But it's
I
not
agree.
necessarily something I'm broadcasting on the
or
first
or
date.
big lying about as well. So yeah, I think
Exactly.
the word lie, you know, there are people out there
are
that really
people who
will
lie.
lie.
Okay,
And
now-
Instagram makes it harder.
I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here.
Okay.
We have talked about this in the past, and we're going to border here on adult territory.
Okay.
But when it comes to body count, and you know what I'm talking about here, and they say nearly 20% of people
I mean,
hide
this is
their sexual
accurate.
history. Do you think
Especially
there
when
is
it comes to men. I'm sorry.
any benefit whatsoever with informing your significant other?
You
when it comes
know,
to body
I
count?
think it doesn't matter because people, like you said, go through experiences in life and so forth. And let's be real, ladies. Men and their body count is always going to be higher for the most part than the woman. So it's like, I don't know. I don't even want to know because if I know, I really may judge you after that. And I've heard some crazy numbers with just my guy friends from over the years. But I really don't think it matters. You know what I mean? Like men are much different than women. You know what's really sad though, Chris? I'm gonna put this back on you. For men, how do you feel about a woman sharing their body count or if it's unexpectedly higher than you think?
Ignorance is bliss.
I like that. That's a good one. A
That's-
good one from a married man
That's
too.
my rule of thumb because no good comes from it.
Right.
No good
Who
comes from going down
cares?
that rabbit hole. We both have histories.
Exactly. And we're both
assuming-
grown, right? It's not like we're
both-
15,
exactly,
20.
you know?
Like everybody's a lot older. So
Right.
we've been through. You want somebody experienced,
I was
right?
in a lot of long-term relationships, and so you know, when my wife and I met, and you know, we didn't have that
Yeah.
specific conversation by any means, but it was very easy to look at my dating history and
I like
have a
that.
safe ballpark.
I
of
can't
what we
lie
were
though. I
talking
haven't been
about.
asked
I
that question
apologize
since
that
like college. I don't think people really ask me
I'm
that
surprised
question
we
anymore.
went down this route. I apologize. All right, let's talk. We're gonna stay.
keeping it real. I
We're
like
gonna
that.
Stay on the same subject. Also, hashtag Fox 5 Live Zone. Let us know what you think.
Yes.
Phone snooping.
Oh,
This is a big
this
one.
is a good one.
Speaking of honesty in our love lives, 34% of Americans admitted to snooping through their partner's phone. In fact, research suggests it's a rather common activity in romantic relationships. 66% of those snoopers usually do it while their partner is in the shower. So why are they snooping? That might be the question you have. The top reasons are curiosity and also suspicion of cheating. Brittany, have
I'm
you
laughing
ever gone
because
through
I've been
an
there.
ex's phone?
I've never like been that crazy where I'm thinking of what his password is or trying to see what it is and put it in. But I've definitely been nosy and be like, who's texting him?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Who's calling? And if I see, you know, I've definitely been nosy when it comes to that. But I
100%.
believe what happens in the dark comes to the light. So I don't need to go through your phone because in due time it's going to show, and it's never steered me wrong. Let's just say that much.
I also I firmly believe that if you go looking for something,
You're
will
gonna find
something
something.
that will reinforce the preconceived notion that you went in there
And
with.
this is for Instagram too, everybody, okay?
For
Going through
sure.
the followers, going through the comments,
For
way
sure.
back in the day when they used to show that on the activity feed. It's not good for your mental.
Remember that?
Okay, exactly.
Remember
The
that?
fact
What
that
a-
the fact that I'm bringing it up just shows you
Oh
the
my
trauma.
Here's what I mean, my wife and I, we have each other's phone passwords.
As
and
I
things
feel like
that,
you
know.
should
We
when
have-
it
we
gets
have
to that point
nothing
when
to
you're
hi-
married.
We have nothing to hide.
Right.
But like, look, she has a cloud on her phone and she
Right.
has ex-boyfriends. Like,
Right.
if I go snooping through there, I know I'll find pictures of them together. I
Right.
don't expect that she deleted everything.
Exactly.
So like, you know,
who has
it's
the
just
time?
boundaries.
What
Have
happens in the
good
dark
boundaries.
comes to light, everybody.
Exactly. Just, you know,
Yeah.
be honest with each other.
Yeah,
It
and
just
just
solves so many
And
problems.
just trust your partner.
Trust
and
your
if you
partner,
don't,
exactly.
or
If
if you
you
have
don't-
suspicions, it's
if they
going to
don't
come
deserve
out.
that trust, exactly, then
Yeah.
that's on them. I like
Look
that
at
we both,
us.
exactly. Not to mention the fact
I
that we both got
know.
the black memo
I
today.
love it, literally.
Exactly. Where can we catch you next?
You guys already know. Follow me on Instagram at b.on.top. And I'm back online literally in a couple of minutes with Marissa Mitchell today.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little
That's
switch
what
up.
I
And we're
love
in
to
black,
hear.
too. Clearly, I got the memo today for Fox 5 crew.
All right.
I
That's
love
what
that.
I love to hear.
Good
All
to
right.
see you, Chris.
Brittany, thank you so much for joining us as
Yes.
always. Coming up next, we're going to dive into some celebrity dish with the media prince.
Ooh,
We'll
love
be right
him.
back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone. Coming up on the top of the hour, 1:02 p.m., and we are following some breaking news from Northwest D.C. That is where police tell us there has been a shooting in the 5100 block of Sherrier Place Northwest. This is in the Palisades neighborhood of Northwest D.C. If you're familiar with it, this is between MacArthur Boulevard and Canal Road, and it's right near the Palisades Recreation Center, the Palisades tennis courts, just south of Arizona Avenue Northwest, near the Arizona Avenue Bridge. So you see the post on your screen from DC Police right now. MPD investigating an officer-involved shooting. No officers hurt. Media staging, intersection of Edmonds Place and MacArthur Boulevard Northwest. We're told a public information officer is on the way to the scene. So is Fox 5's David Kaplan. We'll turn to him for an update when more details become available, or if there is a press conference, we will take you to that live. First though, we're gonna change gears and we're gonna talk a little celebrity dish, because that's what we like to do at 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoons, and we need to turn to the man who knows all when it comes to celebrities. We are talking about the one and only Media Prince. Media Prince, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Chris, we are live in the zone. How are you?
I'm good, and like we've hung out so many times through the screen doing Celebrity Dish on Good Day at 10A, but this is the first time it's just been you and me kicking it, and I love it.
Right, this is going to be practice for us in a few weeks.
That's right, because you're going to be joining me live on the Do You Like It or Not at 7:30 on Fox Local. You ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start off talking about Nick Cannon, a frequent Celebrity Dish topic, because the Wild 'N Out star says he was truly wild and out after he and Mariah Carey split. The Masked Singer host admitted during a sit-down with the Breakfast Club yesterday, not sure if you saw it, but he says that becoming a 12-time father was a, quote, trauma response to his divorce. He also called his actions careless and frivolous. He also said that if he had done the work and taken time to heal after his breakup, he would have taken his time in a lot of other scenarios. Now, it's worth noting the social media reaction to his confession was mixed. Some fans said they were proud of him for his mature reflection on his behavior. Others said, imagine being his kid and hearing this someday. Media Prince, as recently as March, though, he said during a separate podcast interview that he was not done having kids. So what do you make of this reflection, this confession, and the fact that he calls his procreation a trauma response?
I mean, hey, if I'm going to be a trauma response, I better be one from a millionaire. So that's one. But honestly, as a kid, I think they're still young and impressionable. I think the oldest kids are Mariah's kids, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And probably the next three under them are probably in a space where they probably like, Dad, what do you mean trauma response? Or you may have to explain to them what a trauma response is. But it's a little bit of, it's a dozen too late to realize that there was a trauma response. And what was that trauma? Was there some trauma happening in the marriage between him and Mariah Carey? Is there more that we should have known to what created this trauma in him? And did this trauma make him feel like he had to continue to procreate after procreate after procreate? And then, like you just said, he's also saying he wants to have more kids. From what I heard, he wants to have a total of 16. So I guess the trauma continues. So Nick Cannon, I don't know if this was a clickbait response for us to have these discussions, and maybe this will open up the door for fathers everywhere that have about 16, 17 kids everywhere that they don't need to have them. But again, I hope that he's learning his trauma and he also doesn't bring that into his fatherhood, because he has a lot of kids and 12 is kind of a lot to wrap your head around and to spend your time with. So I just want to see, I want to dive deeper more. So maybe this conversation will start something more in the discussion of him and his 12 kids.
Yeah, he's definitely seemed like he's been reflecting on his behavior a little more. I remember an interview he did with Extra when he launched his new late night relationship-focused podcast, and he kind of admitted that he hopes his daughters don't end up dating someone like him in the future. So he seems a little more self-aware of his behavior and how other people have kind of perceived it. I also kind of, look, we've all kind of heard the saying that the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else, and it seems like he did that in spades. The availability was there, but it seems like he could have taken some precautions along the way to prevent this trauma response.
Right. Or are we saying also two low-key terms that we haven't tackled on this? Can we also admit that maybe Nick Cannon may be a sex addict? Maybe that could be a little bit intertwined into that, because our brother got it on, and he got it on a lot.
No question there, I think. It's safe to say. All right, let's talk about Cardi B now, because this afternoon we're checking out the cover art for Cardi B's new album, I Am the Drama, which I see a question mark there in the title, but I think we all know the answer. The rapper's long-awaited sophomore project features a ton of high-profile collabs, including Janet Jackson, Selena Gomez, Lizzo, Summer Walker, Kehlani, Cash Cobain, Tyla, and Megan Thee Stallion. The new album drops on September 19th, so not too long of a wait. And we also learned today, Cardi B announced her Little Miss Drama tour, her first full headline arena run, and the biggest tour of her career. Guess what? It will be right here in DC at Capital One Arena on April 8th. Tickets go on sale Thursday, September 25th. So if you haven't replenished your piggy bank after all of the other shows here in 2025, now you got to save for next week when Cardi goes on sale. What do you make of all of this?
And speaking of that, Cardi's been taking our money for some time now. She has vinyls on top of vinyls on top of vinyls. She has pre-orders galore. She has bundles galore. She has merch. And now there's a tour. Honestly, I'm kind of really excited to see what she does, because this is, for her career, she's almost at a 10-year peak. We've had to wait for 7 years for the first album. And due to the success of that first album, we never even comprehended that she never took an arena tour. She's never did tours. Now, we've been sufficed with her doing headlining festivals and things of that nature, but I think actually seeing the flyer of the tour kind of got me a little excited and even more ready to see exactly how much drama she's going to be. And yes, with that question mark, am I the drama? After watching her interview with Kelly Rowland last night, I believe Cardi B is the drama, and I'm ready to see exactly how much drama she's going to bring to us this Friday when we get to finally hear this long anticipated second LP that we have been asking for since 2019. So I'm excited. Welcome back, Cardi B. She's been on a marketing run that's like no other. It's kind of getting me excited of what an album rollout is. We haven't seen one like this in a while. I mean, come on, Beyonce don't even give us this. So I'm excited to see what we're going to expect, and I'm hoping to hear hit after hit after hit after hit.
Well, I think it's a safe bet there, but I also think it's kind of funny that we're talking about it like it's a comeback. And Cardi B has maintained her presence in the headlines no matter what, despite the fact that there have been single drops throughout the, you know, we've gotten WAP and everything else, but the wait for this album, I mean, it was for some fans pushing that Rihanna level where we're just like, come on, you've done everything else in the world but the new music, so come on. Hit us with that album, so now people can finally take a listen.
Yes, and I think us as fans, though she's been giving us singles, it's going to be nice to just hit play and let everything just go back to back versus having to shuffle or put these songs on a playlist together so they could just play back and forth. My only discrepancy, though, is there are a few songs that I feel like she left out that should be put on that album. Money should have been put on that album, and Enough should have been put on this album as well. But who knows, in the brainchild of Cardi B, she may do a deluxe and throw those songs.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because I know that she did get a little backlash for including some of those singles on this new album. But, you know, you can't please all the people all the time. That's the rule. Let's stick with music and grab your wallets once again, because next year's Coachella lineup is officially out. Take a look at the headliners. Sabrina Carpenter, Karol G, Justin Bieber, among the big stars going out on the road. Other performers include Young Thug, Teddy Swims, Sexy Red, and Addison Rae. Coachella scheduled for next April in California, so right around the same time Cardi B will be here in DC. Looks like, yeah, literally the next weekend. Coachella passes go on sale this Friday, though. Is this lineup enough to convince you? Have you ever been to Coachella before, Media Prince?
Yes, I've been to Coachella once. It was Beyonce.
Okay. Wait, was that the
homecoming one? Of course, you know, that's kind of hard to top.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard to top.
Sabrina Carpenter has me in a chokehold right now. A Man's Best Friend, I have been playing this album on repeat. When Did You Get Hot and Tears have just been, they're already platinum right now on my Apple Music playlist. So Sabrina Carpenter right now, that name alone will draw an attraction. And after she just gave that amazing performance at the VMAs, I'm really excited to see what she's going to do with Coachella. And if you went to her tour, her Sweet tour, Short and Sweet tour, then you know that she gives you it's like burlesque meets pop meets fantasy. So I'm excited to see what she'll take it for Coachella. I love Justin Bieber and Karol G, but I won't be coming on those days. But a Sabrina Carpenter day definitely will hold high, which is why she's at the top spot.
I do think a lot of fans will be curious to kind of see Justin Bieber back out there performing live, though, especially after some of the social media antics we've seen from him recently. But I think people do, you know, I mean, he's got the new music out, so it makes sense for him to do a big headlining thing like this. I would be most fascinated to see the Media Prince fit at Coachella, because obviously everyone who goes has to have it put on, and I know you better than anyone will come correct when it comes to that.
I'm thinking something cool, but something yet trendy at the same time, because it gets a little hot out there in California.
Yes, it does.
So I'm thinking something chic, but yet very cool. So when the breeze hits, it breezes through. So we'll see. And I know one accessory will be lots of tequila.
Yes, and that goes with everything. That's the beauty of tequila. Let's wrap things up talking about Ben Affleck, because I've got a little bit of bad news for him. It looks like Duncan has replaced him as a spokesperson, and they did it with a younger and a better Affleck, apparently. Take a look.
Order for Affleck.
Expecting my cousin Ben? Nah. When Duncan has something packed with amazing value, They bring me in. Jen Affleck, the value Affleck.
The value Affleck?
Yep, twice the personality, half the price. I'm a steal, just like Dunkin's $6 meal deal. A coffee, bacon, egg, and cheese, and hash browns for $6? That's value. You know what's not value? Ben. Why overpay for something that nobody wants? He's so dated, I'm younger, hotter. Can you believe Ben's only 53? And it's not like a young 53, it's like a weathered 53.
Rude.
Ugh, that was bad. But not as bad as those grays.
A totally average 53. Right down the 53 fairway.
Totally average 53. So if you don't know, that's Jen Affleck from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. She had a whole storyline in seasons 1 and 2 about whether or not she and her husband Zach were related to the actor. She had claimed they were in sort of interviews. They're not. So for Duncan to capitalize on that, first of all, the Mormon Wives are everywhere right now. 2 of them are going to be on the latest season of Dancing with the Stars, and 1 of them just got named the new Bachelorette. And now we've got Jen in this Duncan ad busting chops on Ben Affleck. I absolutely love this, Media Prince.
I think it's genius. I think Ben and Duncan are getting in on the fun of the whole hoopla storyline of their cousins. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. So it kind of like leaves that question for mystery still with seeing something like this. And it also it's able to just poke fun that Ben is just, he gets it. He gets what's happening in pop culture. Jen is becoming the it face now. People are following her. So why not get in line and see where it can go? And I think Duncan just is always capitalizing on who's the it girl at the moment. First it was Ice Spice. Now they're saying that Jen Affleck is the new it girl. So they're just following the wave. And I think this is going to be I'm ready to see what other commercials come for this, because what I do know is they don't just do one ad, they do multiple. So I'm excited to see where they take this. But I think it's genius, another marketing genius for Duncan, and I will be going in there to get me a breakfast sandwich tomorrow.
That's right, the new value meal, which she's promoting. And I will say, as a huge fan of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives show, I can't wait to see how this storyline of all of the attention that Taylor Frankie Paul and Jen Affleck are getting, because they were the 2 most hated by Demi last season. And listen, if you watch that show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I haven't seen her face in any ads recently, trying to be the new leader of Mom Talk. Look, try again. Even Whitney's on Dancing with the Stars. Anyway, I could talk about it for the next half hour. Media Prince, thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Chris. And remember, guys, to stay live in the zone.
Live in the zone. And we look forward to seeing you on Do You Like It or Not coming up in just a few weeks. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. Little after, coming up on 1:20 on this Tuesday afternoon. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Fox 5 Live Zone on this Tuesday afternoon. We want to take you back over to Capitol Hill, where FBI Director Kash Patel is testifying at an oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Let's listen in.
When Todd Blanche went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, she said, "But did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there's no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, and some are in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers," and you know what a defense lawyer asked, is not who in the cabinet, who are you referring to? His question is, so when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? So let me ask you, who are those cabinet members that Ghislaine Maxwell was referring to that were part of this cast of characters associated with Mr. Epstein? Who are they?
The Deputy Attorney General took the aggressive step that no one else did and interviewed Ms. Maxwell for 2 days, and we released the entirety of that transcript.
Who are the cabinet members?
I do not have that transcript in front of me. You're picking it piecemeal. The American public can read the entirety of that.
One last question, because you clearly won't tell us the cabinet members associated with Mr. Epstein. Let me ask you one last question. And that is, right after she gives this testimony in front of an FBI agent, among others, she's transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a sex offender like herself. Who made that decision and why?
The Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Decisions made it in
prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
Not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. We are bringing historic reform.
Point of order.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said I'm the most transparent FBI director in history. 33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
Both of you be quiet. Before I go to Senator Tillis, without objection, I want to introduce into the record the Durham Annex. The Durham Annex is a declassified appendix to John Durham's report about Crossfire Hurricane. The Durham Annex contains information exposing a reported Clinton campaign plan to falsely tie President Trump to Russia. For years, I've fought to assemble and publicize all the facts heretofore unknown surrounding Durham's investigation, Crossfire Hurricane, and related matters. The Durham Annex was declassified large part because of Director Patel. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Director Patel, thank you for being here. I've actually admired the way you've tried to keep your composure over the course of this. Kind of reminds me of an old Far Side comic that said the floggings will continue until morale improves. The last one I just coach you on, don't take the bait, because they're going to use that discussion between you and Senator Schiff, as you've suggested before, to raise money. Just sit down in the quiet confidence that you're doing a good job. Real quick, in less than 30 seconds, give me your resume again on why you're qualified for this position.
Thank you, Senator. I served as a public defender and national security prosecutor. I tried over 60 criminal trials to verdict in state and federal court. I served as the lead investigator in the House Intelligence Committee and the counterterrorism expert there, unfolding the Russiagate investigation. I served as the head of counterterrorism for a presidential White House. I served as the deputy director of national intelligence at the Office of Director of National Intelligence, overseeing our 17 intelligence agencies. I served as a chief of staff to the Department of Defense and the Secretary of Defense, overseeing a $2 trillion financial equity flow, and also defending the homeland and providing for our no-fail mission.
We could drill down in details, because I've studied that record, and I think you should be very proud of it. I just did that for the benefit of the liberal media that just keep referring to you as a podcaster, I think, and I appreciate you giving me that resume. It's a good body of work. It's why I supported your nomination so strongly when you were before this committee. Really quickly, too, on the events of last week and the sad death and assassination of Mr. Kirk, I seem to recall that Mr. Zinn, I think, was the first person of interest. He was reported to be saying, "I shot him, now shoot me," or something to that effect. Would that have more or less, and your job is to calm the tensions, right? There were people running all over the building. People are afraid over there. Could it be that because you were in possession of some of that information that maybe you did just characterize as getting our man, that maybe that's what led up to it, if those facts are correct?
What led me to that is to the eliminate subjects, but also we were in a period with inside of 24 hours where we didn't know who the shooter was.
Well, that's why I asked, because people are forgetting that this man was reported to have been saying, "I shot him, now shoot me." They're also forgetting that he brought in an attorney and said that he'd fabricated the claim to draw attention away from the actual shooter. And he went on to get multiple charges for possessing child pornography and sexual abuse material on his phone. So I'm just saying that it just seems to me that in the moment, maybe you should have used different words, but I can't imagine that the amount of time that we've spent on that subject in the hearing today. But I think it's because they're really worried that they're another punchline to an old joke. Your work, it's working in practice, but it's not working in their theory. They haven't heard you, so it's working in practice, but not in theory. They haven't heard you say multiple times that you've plussed up FBI resources in every state. They haven't heard you when you've talked about year-over-year comparisons for results. I don't care how many people you have at HQ, as long as you keep producing those results and they're good. They need to be sustained. Now, I am a little bit concerned about the deployment of National Guard troops to dangerous cities, but you keep on mentioning something I'm going to go back to in terms of joint task forces. You also did a great job of explaining why you think you should save money and go out and fly out of an airport versus an easy trip across the Potomac to National. I love all those responses. I'm not going to repeat them here. But I'm worried that if we move in too quickly, let's say to Memphis, I should back up and say I was Speaker of the House in North Carolina. And I would consider it a personal failure on the part of state leadership if they have to call in federal resources to do their job beyond what they do every day. And that's promoting joint task forces. I've seen ATF, DEA, FBI. I've been in the briefing rooms at 3 o'clock in the morning about to go and do a 55 no-knock warrants on bad people. You all do that every day, and thank God that you are. It looks like we should plus it up in a few cities. I'd rather use the money to deploy National Guard to just continue to leverage what you're already doing well, and I compliment.
All right, it's 1:30. If you're just joining us here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, just want to give you a little look at what we're watching right now. On the top left corner of your screen, that's FBI Director Kash Patel testifying on Capitol Hill at an oversight hearing, and it has gotten a little heated. We have heard them arguing about everything from the Jeffrey Epstein case to his credentials and more. We'll keep listening to that in just a moment. First, though, in the bottom right corner of your screen, this is a police-involved shooting that took place a little earlier this afternoon in Northwest D.C., the Palisades neighborhood of Northwest D.C. No officers injured, but we are standing by for a possible press conference. Fox 5's David Kaplan is live on the scene. This is raw footage as you see the camera moving around. This happened along the 5100 block of Sherrier Place Northwest. This is right near the Palisades Recreation Area between MacArthur Boulevard and Canal Drive. We'll take you there as soon as we get an update. In the meantime, let's listen back in to that hearing on Capitol Hill.
That day, would you agree with that characterization?
I would love to have you out and anyone else on this day is to West Virginia to see that
I'd like to
work.
bring some of my colleagues to see it's working. We had people on my side of the aisle saying it was going to be awful, it was going to result in mass confiscation of guns. Not true. They were wrong. This bill's making a difference. I also want to talk about the behavioral health and other components in granting. I know in North Carolina things are going well. I want to make sure that that flow is going out there because the tragic events in North Carolina and Charlotte, the stabbing, I spoke with one of the family members yesterday, I think that we have to recognize that we have magistrates that have a revolving door policy, no doubt about that, and they should be held accountable if they're releasing dangerous people. But I also think that some of the problem is that we simply don't have a place to send people, particularly with respect to behavioral health. We have got to continue to, every law enforcement officer I've ever spoken with says, look, I've got law enforcement officers seconded to an emergency room because I've got somebody with no place to send them. I don't have a bed upstairs I can send them to. I don't have a behavioral health facility. We've got to provide more ways to detain people that are a risk to themselves and a risk for the community. And I really do believe the Safer Communities Act is a good framework for doing that. That's only a comment. Section 702 is going to come up in April of next year for renewal. Do you believe it should be eliminated and not reauthorized?
No, sir. It needs to be
Can I also get your commitment maybe to come back over and review some of the controls that are in place and other things? So hopefully we won't have the drama leading up to April. We can actually come here and get consensus on why you've got the checks and balances in place and why we should do it. Just remove any chance that we're going to run into that cliff narrative next year. Can I get your commitment on doing that?
You have
Mr.
it, sir.
Patel? Thank you. I want to talk very briefly on, and the chairman's given me a gavel, but I promise not to go over more than 2 minutes. But that's why I chose to be last, so I could have this discussion and actually get to some facts versus agendas and clickbait that we'll almost certainly see going forward. Tell me a little bit about the rationale behind the change in stance in recruiting. I also understand there may be a reduction in the academy timeline. Just give me some thinking about where you are on recruiting, retention, training, et cetera.
So recruitment is through the roof. We've doubled up month over month our applicants to be 1811s, our federal agents, intel analysts. So the recruitment is going wonderful. What we have to do is figure out.
All right, we're going to break away from that Capitol Hill hearing with FBI Director Kash Patel right now to get you out to Northwest D.C., where there has been a police-involved shooting along the 5100 block of Sherrier Place Northwest. This is in the Palisades neighborhood of Northwest D.C. Fox 5's David Kaplan is on the scene. He is joining us now live. David, all we've heard so far from the MPD on X is that this is a police-involved shooting and no officers were injured. What can you tell us so far?
Yeah, Chris, not a ton of details beyond that at this time. We are awaiting a news briefing that's going to happen here. We expect shortly. I'm going to try and kind of show behind me, probably can't zoom too close, but there's several police cars here, several investigators. This is about 2 blocks away from where I'm standing right now. We're here just off MacArthur Boulevard and Edmonds Place here in the Palisades area. And the shooting itself happened on Sherrier Place, which is, again, a couple blocks away. You can kind of just get a sense behind me. This is a residential area. If you're familiar with MacArthur Boulevard, that area of Northwest DC, you know, a pretty commercial corridor. And then obviously the neighborhoods surrounding that. So I don't have a great Zoom function right now, but photographer Doug Wilkes is giving you another shot nearby of just the amount of police that are here on MacArthur Boulevard. Can tell you there's a lot of neighbors here that are definitely curious about what exactly happened. Very little in the way, though, of confirmable information that we can share at this time about what exactly happened, but just a large police presence that is here investigating, and certainly we're hoping to learn more soon, and we'll be sure to bring you that as soon as we get additional information, Chris.
All right, David, we're taking a live look at that scene right now with the police tape up, the officers, detectives kind of standing around, the police cars. Let me just ask you a quick question, because of everything that's been happening with the crime crackdown here in Washington, D.C. Do you just see members of the MPD on scene, or are there any other agencies out there as well?
Yeah, Chris, fair and excellent question. And just to kind of show you that, I'll actually walk over here. You can see the police behind me. For the vast majority, for the most part, it is MPD that are here. So we want to be very clear about that, that this is an MPD investigation, but I'm just kind of walking away from the scene here just to at least show you that there is a Secret Service police vehicle that is here behind me. So you just saw me walk not too far away from where we were. Can't say for sure just sort of what the involvement of that is, or if it's just sort of, you know, an augmentation like we've seen with federal support of the local police here in the last couple of weeks. But definitely one police cruiser, 2 police cruisers, 3 police cruisers. And just based on what I can see from, you know, this vantage point that we have just a few blocks away, it does appear as though it's predominantly DC police that are here, Chris. But certainly if there is some sort of federal involvement, some sort of federal nexus here, we'll be sure to confirm that. But at this time, I feel pretty confident telling you, especially since DC Police was the main agency that sort of initially put this out, that this does appear to be a DC Police investigation at this time. Certainly, and this goes without saying, and we're still early on in this investigation, but certainly there are several investigations that take place anytime there is an officer involved shooting of an MPD officer in the District of Columbia, internal affairs, sort of outside investigation into the circumstances that might have led up to a shooting. So, but still very, very early on in terms of knowing exactly sort of where things stand right now, given that this just happened and we just learned about this not too long ago, Chris.
David, we can kind of see at least one road shut down. I know you said your staging area is right along MacArthur Boulevard and Edmonds Place. The actual shooting scene was in the 5100 block of Sherrier Place, Northwest Canal Road, just on the other side. The shooting scene is kind of in between 2 major roads. Any other road closures, traffic impact for anyone who's kind of driving in the area?
Yeah, Chris, I can tell you nothing major. So just the main thing that someone who might be watching, or if you know somebody in DC right now, the main thing to note is that there is at least 1 lane blocked on MacArthur here in this specific area at the intersection of Edmonds Place. There are also some lack of access to sort of some of the neighborhood that is on the sort of side closest to the Potomac River in this area on the 5100 block of Sharon. That's the sort of block that is closed right now, but no major traffic impacts truly beyond the 1 southbound lane of MacArthur Boulevard that is closed at this time. I also just want to, if we can go, you're giving a look at our photographer Doug's shot just to see you know, the officers that are definitely coming and going at this time, investigators coming and going. I can tell you there are several people just sort of standing here trying to figure out what exactly happened here, neighbors who live here. But, you know, Doug just kind of giving you a good sense of the sheer response here. Obviously, the officers wearing white shirts are certainly kind of higher up the chain of command, and you see a handful of those as we give you that live picture right now as this investigation is happening. You can see certainly there's a large presence here, and you can certainly expect that anytime there is an officer involved shooting. And again, just to emphasize what we know that an officer discharged a weapon. We know that no officers were hurt. We do not know at this time if anybody was hit by that officer gunfire, and if someone was, what the extent of those injuries may be, if there are in fact injuries. Certainly all questions that we hope to get answers to. As I just while we're live here right now, double check again to see if there's any update from DC Police on their social media channels. There is not. So that's kind of just a good lay of the land of what we see right now, Chris.
Yeah, and so no word yet on what the initial call was that brought officers to the scene and what may have led to the gunfire. I'm also kind of just looking at a map along the 5100 block of Sherrier Place there. It looks like it's the entrance to the Palisades Recreation Center and Playground. So I imagine a lot of families nearby and a lot of just neighbors wondering what's going on, David.
Yeah, definitely. And, we've seen that people kind of sticking around trying to figure out what exactly happened. Did not know about the rec center because we're just being kept a little bit of a distance away right now. But certainly this is a family neighborhood for sure. Just a typical kind of residential enclave, residential corner. The Palisades obviously is noteworthy for just sort of the residential component to it, and the MacArthur Boulevard that sort of runs right through it. So definitely a lot of people, you can imagine, incredibly curious and wondering what exactly might have happened here. And certainly we are too, and certainly DC Police knows that the public wants more information. So there's the podium from which they'll eventually be giving some information about what exactly happened here. As you know, we're going to continue trying to maybe talk to people and work to learn more. But certainly a lot of curiosity about what exactly happened here, a lot of curiosity if someone was hit, a lot of curiosity if someone was hit, how that person is doing, and certainly the circumstances that led up to this shooting.
All right, David, well, we'll let you get back to it and talking to some of those neighbors and standing by for that press conference. When it happens, we will bring it to you live here on the Live Zone if it's in the next 18 minutes or so. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, take care, Chris.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here coming up on 142. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Fox 5 Live Zone. Coming up on 1:45 on this Tuesday afternoon, you're taking a live look at the House floor House Resolution 707 up for a vote right now. 3 minutes and 45 seconds remaining on that. This is not one of the ones related to DC home rule. This is the Deport Illegal Voters Act. Right now you see the yeas at 77 for Republicans, Democrats at 91, 262 not voting yet. So just about a little less than 3.5 minutes left on that vote. The ones we're standing by and keeping an eye on, House Resolution 4922, that is to limit youth offender status in DC, along with House Resolution 5143 to establish standards for law enforcement officers in the District of Columbia to engage in vehicular pursuits of suspects. House Resolution 5140, which would lower the age at which a minor may be tried as an adult, and then House Resolution 5125 to amend the District of Columbia Home Rule Act to terminate the District of Columbia Judicial Nomination Commission. So those are all the ones relating to DC home rule we're keeping an eye on, not the one that you're looking at right now, though. Earlier today, the GOP spoke out. We'll take a listen.
Good morning, everybody, and let me start by addressing the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. First and foremost, my prayers are with Charlie and his family, with his wife Erica and their 2 children. Like so many, I experienced this impact through the eyes of my daughter. He showed her that the impact that she could have as a young person, as a young conservative person, that was really important to her. Charlie's legacy will live on in every young person that he inspired. Now, turning to the work of the House Republicans, over the last 8 months, we've remained focused on delivering results for working families. Nowhere has that been bigger than in the working families tax cuts. These are the most pro-growth, most pro-family, pro-middle class tax cuts in history, particularly when it comes to growing rural health care, manufacturing and small businesses, energy dominance, and take-home pay. When it comes to growing rural health care, the tax cut bill invests $50 billion. This single largest investment in rural health care history. The administration moved quickly on this investment, and just yesterday, Dr. Oz announced HHS already had the portal ready for folks to begin applying for those rural health care funds. The legislation also grows small businesses and manufacturing. We incentivized Made in America goods, eliminated taxes on overtime, made it more affordable to own a small business in this country. These are points that I discussed at length with constituents in Congressman Kagan's district just last week. The bill grows American energy production as well, cutting red tape and gas prices, a topic that we covered during Friday's visit to a 7-Eleven gas station with Congressman Rob Whitman in Virginia. And finally, and probably the most important, is this bill grows take-home pays for the average American by $10,000. In part, that's done by eliminating taxes on tips, which were highlighted while at a local restaurant in Congressman McGuire's district while on the Working Families Tax Cut Tour. It is the workers in real America, the folks who build our ships and accept our tips, that Working Families tax cuts are designed for their prosperity and for their growth. And with that, I want to turn it over to Congressman Tony Weed, who's a small business owner himself. Tony, thank you for joining us today.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to begin by thanking Speaker Johnson, Leader Scalise, Whip Emmer, and Chairwoman McLean for inviting me to speak here today about the major small business wins in our Working Families tax cuts. Prior to running for Congress, my wife and I ran our gas station convenience store business for nearly 3 decades in Northeast Wisconsin. During my time in business, I learned firsthand how difficult it is to deal with overbearing government regulations and tax codes that cause financial hardship, stagnate growth, and make it very difficult to be successful. Under Joe Biden's administration, small businesses were crushed with an unprecedented surge in federal regulations and the highest inflation that we have seen in 40 years that made it harder for small businesses to turn a profit. My wife and I sold our business in 2022, and we face these issues like every other small business in this country. Thankfully, with the leadership of President Trump and House Republicans, the working families tax cuts will finally give small businesses across Wisconsin's 8th District the relief they deserve. One of the most important victories is making the 199A deduction permanent. In Wisconsin alone, more than 85,000 employers will benefit. This tax cut allows dairy producers and other small businesses in my district to reinvest in their operations, facilities, and in their workforce. Nearly 3/4 of people claiming the 199A deduction in 2022 had an adjusted gross income of less than $200,000. Simply put, this tax cut is for Main Street, not Wall Street. This is not to mention permanent R&D tax relief, elimination of the death tax, increased employer child care credit, and so much more. All of these things are real, tangible wins that will greatly impact small businesses in Wisconsin's 8th District. You know, I've met with dozens of small business owners in my district, and I can tell you they're extremely excited about this bill and the work that House Republicans are continuing to do for them. Despite constant fear-mongering from Democrats, which has been echoed by the mainstream media, the Working Families Tax Cut is a major win for small business owners and puts Main Street over Wall Street once and for all. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce Kevin Kester, a fifth-generation California rancher from Monterey County, where his family has lived and worked for over 100 years. Kevin is a very active within the industry, having served as president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, California Cattlemen's Association, and San Luis Obispo County Cattlemen's Association.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and your leadership team. I want to thank President Trump. I cannot overstate how important it was for this one big, beautiful bill to get passed and signed by the President. With our family ranching operation, I had to suffer 30 years ago when my grandfather passed away. We had to pay a death tax to the federal government. It took us years and years to overcome that hurdle and not have to sell our family ranch. My family, we couldn't hire enough people like we should. We couldn't invest back in the community or our operation. So the increase in permanence of the state tax exemptions, the death tax, hugely important for us, number one. Other provisions, it's already been mentioned, 179A, the 100% bonus depreciation made permanent. That is a big deal for our family ranching operation to expense those things. 199A is also pass-through deduction helps. There's also some other provisions that don't get talked about as much, and that's some of the Farm Bill provisions, the funding of conservation programs that really helps keep our ranch viable. It's good for the environment, it's good for ranchers, and it's good for the taxpayers to keep our ranches healthy and productive. So again, I want to thank the leader and the leadership team, the House, President Trump, for getting this bill passed. It'll help keep my kids and my grandkids ranching and feeding America and the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Tony, and thanks to all your colleagues who came today. Last week, the world watched in horror as a political assassination was carried out against a champion of free speech, Charlie Kirk. As Lisa said when we started, our prayers continue to be with his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children as they endure this unimaginable loss. In response to Charlie's death, tens of thousands have gathered for vigils to mourn, pray, and remember. These vigils organically sprung up across the world, not fueled by hate, vitriol, or revenge, but by unity. love, and hope. I want you to see the contrast between this response to tragedy and responses we have seen in the past. For instance, in my state, in 2020, Minneapolis was burned by rioters while Tim Walz's wife kept the windows of the governor's mansion open to, quote, smell the burning tires. While radical leftists react with chaos and destruction, may we continue to respond with prayer, community, and...
All right, you've been listening to some House GOP leaders speaking out a little earlier this morning before they head to the House floor to vote on some of those major bills we're keeping an eye on, including ones that could impact DC's home rule. That's in the top left-hand box. In the bottom right-hand box, that is the police-involved shooting that took place a little earlier this afternoon along the 5100 block of Sherrier Place, Northwest DC. We got a 5-minute heads up for a press conference a little more than 6 minutes ago, but we are standing by for that still. David Kaplan, Fox 5's David Kaplan, there on the scene. He will bring us the very latest on air and online this afternoon. In the meantime, you can keep streaming this on our Fox 5 DC YouTube page. We're also going to be streaming the Utah County District Attorney press conference on Charlie Kirk's murder. That's coming up at the top of the hour as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. For producer Emmy, I'm producer Chris. The Take It 2 coming up next. Have a great day.